So Freddie Andersen plays back-to-back, and the Leafs lose back-to-back. It's 3 losses in 4 games now. In the second half of the Sheldon Keefe era with the Toronto Maple Leafs, Justin Bourne kicking it with me to help break it down. Let's start with the Freddie angle. This felt unique in that we find out he wanted to play the second half of the back-to-back, but given how well he played over the 2 games, losses aside, is this something you would explore more over the last 6 back-to-backs they have through the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends what they end up doing with the backup role. Like, if they find a solution, then maybe, Freddie can sit out a couple. But right now, the way Hutchinson has played and Kaskasuo doesn't seem to be an option. I think it's kind of a situation where Freddie's going to have to play a lot till they plug that hole. And obviously, we see that he can do it. Like, goaltenders not that many years ago used to play, Luongo used to play 70-some games a season. And yes, by the end of the career, your groin becomes spaghetti. But during those seasons, he was okay and he didn't end up getting injured. So the Leafs may have to run Freddie a little bit ragged this season.
He played well over the last 2 games. I don't think anybody would argue that. Probably did enough to deserve at least a win, maybe even 2. I know the scoreline against the Flyers was unflattering. The game certainly wasn't. What if you noticed over the last week or so under Sheldon Keefe that maybe was different from week 1, or is it simply a product of just bad luck?
Well, that's certainly part of it. Bad luck with the schedule a little bit is, well, I shouldn't say it's bad luck, but at some point you play some good teams.
Sure.
Like, I'm one of the remaining few people who think the Leafs are actually a pretty good hockey club and have a good chance to come out of this. But just the way the schedule has fallen, Philadelphia, going into Philadelphia, that's a good club, which they played pretty well there. And Colorado's probably one of the 5 best teams in the league. So, they've played a couple of good teams here. I thought they've played pretty well. I do think that they're probably still finding themselves a little bit under Sheldon Keefe. And John Tavares mentioned as such in his post-game interview. So I think that they're going to find their stride at some point. The problem is that, their record being what it is, 13-13, that they're at the mercy of luck. If they continue to have injuries or get some bad bounces, the season can be turf. But I do believe if they start winning some games that this is still a dangerous team.
I know no one cares about moral victories. You don't get points for playing well and losing. I completely understand that. Thank you for everybody on Twitter for reminding me of that. But there is a noticeable difference, at least when you look at the team on the ice and what it was under Mike Babcock. Throw in the fact that Sheldon Keefe decides, hey, let's just put 5 skilled guys on the ice to end the game over and over again. It's something that I think bodes well long-term, although long-term is relative because they don't have a lot of time to figure this out. But what do you make of the combinations of players that he's throwing out there?
Yeah, well, I loved the other day, last night, when he had Marner, Matthews, and Nylander on the ice together. And honestly, watching the game, I was like, you can do that?
Yeah,
you're
allowed?
They can all, oh, wow. It was a bit of an epiphany for me, which is silly. But, even seeing Riley and Barry out there together, there are times when they're trailing the game that you'd like to see those guys put out there together. Frankly, they probably don't know what they can do together. They haven't had the opportunity to work together as a group. So it's going to be interesting to see if those guys can find a rhythm together. And Sheldon is someone who will adjust on the fly. He's a guy that is not,
He's not afraid to just mix things up. He doesn't care about the norm,
it
seems,
Yeah, exactly, and that's it. So you'll see more things like that throughout the season.
Very quickly, Mitch Marner returned to the lineup. We saw his skill, in full display, a couple chances late especially. What element does he bring to this team that they were maybe lacking as well?
Well, I think when you pay 4 guys, over $10 million, you expect to see some difference making exceptional plays. And he's one of those guys that can do things that few players in the league can. So, I think they're going to lean on him to create plays. And once he's feeling comfortable, score some goals that other players can't create.
It doesn't get any more comfortable for the Leafs in the schedule. Next up, just the defending Stanley Cup champions, the St. Louis Blues on Saturday. That's Justin Bourne.